campus chaos.
Water bottles thrown, people pepper sprayed, protesters removed the American flag.
A contentious day at UNC Chapel Hill as hundreds rally for a fifth day, calling on the school to cut all financial ties with Israel. And tonight, things are quieter on the campus of UNC Chapel Hill after a very chaotic day. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Angela Taylor.
And I'm Rod Carter. Today, police detained dozens of people in all of that. There were even some major clashes with police late this afternoon. All of the protesters rallying for several days in opposition to the Israel-Hamas war. CBS 17's Harrison Grubb begins our team coverage tonight with what things look like out there right now. Harrison.
Well, it is quite literally night and day. The tents that filled this quad throughout the weekend are gone, and this flagpole that was the center of a lot of the things that were happening this afternoon now once again has the American flag.
Old Glory flies high over UNC's campus again Tuesday, but now surrounded by 2 layers of fencing, the result of a chaotic day of protests.
I think that the American flag represents all of us here at this university.
Benjamin Goroshnik and a handful of other students have been displaying U.S. and Israel flags throughout the protest.
When I came out here today and I saw that instead of the American flag that we usually have, that the Palestinian flag was up there, I was definitely scared.
Protesters briefly flew the Palestinian flag over the quad, forming a human chain in an effort to prevent it from being taken down.
The symbolism of, putting up the Palestinian flag, that's not something to be undermined. No one is saying, we don't want to be American anymore. We want this to be Palestine. It's just about a solidarity.
It led to intense clashes with police. Protesters threw barricades that were put up earlier in the day. Some were pepper sprayed. It went on for hours after officers first intervened. Dozens of protesters were detained early Tuesday morning, including 6 who were arrested after refusing to remove the days-old encampment in the quad. The university says 3 of those arrested are UNC students.
Now, in a statement, the university says that they're disappointed that they had to take this action. Classes for much of the day were canceled. Rod?
So, Harrison, what about the protesters? Did they say whether they're coming back or what's going to happen there?
Yeah, so there were rumblings that some tents could prop back up as early as tonight, but organizers say that they are not returning yet because there is a heavy police presence.
All right, Harrison, live for us tonight. Harrison, thank you.
So in all of that Harrison showed you, that we showed you at the beginning of the newscast, UNC says 36 protesters were actually detained today after they refused to disperse from Polk Place.
Harrison mentioned 30 of those were cited for trespassing and released on site. 6 others were taken to the Orange County Detention Center, which drew its own protesters to support them. Now, county officials say those who were detained went before the magistrate but were not booked into jail. Organizers vowed to be there until everyone was released from custody. The school says 3 students, and 3 of them were not students. We talked with an organizer who did not want to be identified, but says they are a student at UNC Chapel Hill.
We are here and we are not scared of you, and we will continue to be out here until you comply with our demands, period.
The organizers say they're prepared to keep protesting until the university follows its demands, as she just mentioned.
Yeah, well, today's protest at UNC, and the one that's been there for several days this past few days, is one of several that are happening across the country right now. But the question is, what does it all mean, and could changes actually come from it?
CBS 17's Galat Malaman continues our live coverage in Chapel Hill, and you talk with an expert about this. What did they have to say?
Yeah, the expert I spoke to says it's unlikely that some of the protesters' biggest demands will actually be met, but he says that's not the only purpose of protests. The protest for solidarity with Gaza is causing waves of division here at home.
As I like to tell my students, people protest because nothing else has worked.
Protests in Chapel Hill and on college campuses across the country are confident the action will lead to global change. I asked NC State University political science professor Stephen Green about it.
What we do know about protests and protest movements is that it's a media strategy. It is about winning people over to your side.
A main demand of protesters is that their university divest from Israel.
I don't think that particular demand is going to be met.
A campus seeing movement from university leaders is Brown University, which will hold a divestment vote. I asked Green what impact, if any, something like that would have. He says colleges typically have large stock portfolios that could include defense companies.
Our defense industry in America is very closely tied with the support we give to Israel. and just, get out of those stocks, essentially. It's hard to see how just universities getting out of a handful of defense contractors and whatnot is going to make a difference in terms of what happens in Israel and Gaza and with the Palestinians.
Green says it remains to be seen what the actual political impact of the protest will be, but says for now,
in terms of the ability to kind of change the political discourse that we're having, to potentially win people over to the cause, at least as of now, I don't see any evidence of that.
So how does this reach an end? An organizer I spoke to last week says they'll stay out here as long as they need to. Green notes that the academic year is about to come to an end. So an interesting question is how much energy and effort people will have into protesting here once final exams are over and people leave campus. Live in Chapel Hill, Gilad Mohammed, CBS 17 News.
All right, Gilad, thanks so much. We appreciate it.